Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Align Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Corey, and if it's your first time here, I'm so excited to have you. And if you're coming back, thanks for coming back again. I'm so excited for today because I have a beautiful guest, Julietta Duval, and I've been excited to be able to introduce you to her because we have a really cool story of how we met. I tend to meet really amazing, like incredible people that I know I'm supposed to meet on Facebook. And it's really just a nutty thing because I'm not a lover of social media and I keep saying I'm going to get off of it. But every week I meet people that I'm like, oh, we were supposed to meet. And it's the only way we would have met. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that all evolved. But I want to introduce you to Julietta and tell you a little bit about what she does and why I wanted her to come on as a guest today. So, Julietta is a soulful rebel and a grounded guide for individuals and families dismantling systems that no longer serve them. Through radical storytelling, intuitive tools, and her podcast, The Unschooling Lifestyle, she empowers people to live with rhythm, trust, and unapologetic truth. A dedicated mom, entrepreneur, and seasoned flight attendant of nearly 20 years, Julietta embodies a free spirited, nomadic lifestyle, often living out of a suitcase while inspiring others to embrace authenticity and transformative change. Welcome, Julietta! Thanks for
Hi,
being here.
Corey. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so
I'm
excited to be here. Hi, everyone.
Yes, and I'm excited for our conversation because even in the before we started
Yes.
recording, you and I could probably just talk forever
Yes, we
about
can.
all the things,
Yes,
right?
we can. Yes, indeed. So,
So this is going to be an incredible conversation because I want to dive into the homeschooling, the human design, which we
yeah,
both love, a little bit about the flight attendant life, and then kind of a little bit what we were talking about what's going on in the energy field right now
totally.
and just how people are feeling and to kind of I think when we talk about that it gives people relief around how they're feeling like I'm not alone in how I'm feeling right now.
Oh
So
my God,
tell
yes.
us tell us more about you. Like tell us about your I know you have family. Where are you today? Are you at home?
Yes, I am at home. So I am in Michigan. I have been in Michigan for almost 20 years. I have also been a flight attendant for about that time, since 2005. And my
Wow.
husband and I have two beautiful children. They are 12 and 6. They are my life. And for a very long time, I said that I did not want to have children. It was kind of like a safety slash coping mechanism because I had a difficult relationship with my mom, and it
Mm,
made me feel like I could never relate emotionally with another human being. So I was
mm,
scared, honestly. I was really scared to have children, but the universe had other plans for us.
of course.
We became parents. My husband and I met in our first date, actually. It was January 5th, 2006. And my oldest son was born January 5th, 2014. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Talk about like you really like meant to be. Like I feel like we were meant to be, and we were meant to have these children who keep me on my toes every single day. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how
So
you do all that you do. Like you are like, are you a manifesting generator?
I sure am,
Yeah, yeah.
loud and
Okay.
proud.
I'm like, oh man, she's like a triple. If there's even
Yeah.
such a thing, she's a triple about it. Because I think of your lifestyle, how you're flying. You've got young kids at home. You're
Yeah.
homeschooling. You also have you'll have to tell us about your books. The thing I can't remember what the name of the business is where you send out books, but that's like intriguing to me. So you're truly living aligned, right? So it doesn't mean everything's perfect, but you're just doing what feels good to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I do function like that. And it took a minute though. It really did because so in human design, I am a left angle cross of the sleeping phoenix. And at a
Mm,
very high level, left crosses are more about themselves, and the right angle crosses are more about community driven. I think you have a right angle
I
cross,
have a
right?
right angle cross. Yep.
Yes, so they're more community based. So I really struggle with the feeling of selfish or feeling selfish. Like if I went to buy Christmas gifts for people, I can tell you that I do not buy for other people until I buy like five gifts for myself. Like it's incredible. Like I truly, and my
I love
husband will
it.
tell you, my husband's a right angle cross and he thinks of everyone else before he thinks of himself, and I am
Hmm.
not that way. Now it doesn't mean that I can't, it's just I need to be able to fully be in alignment with myself before I can offer anything to anyone. And I have tried that over and over again because I've tried, like before human design, I was trying to do everything for everyone and just thinking that sacrifice parenting was kind of the way to go, that I needed to do that, that I needed to
Mm,
like put everything out there before I even thought of myself. It was very hard because it's not naturally how I function, but
hmm.
I did it and I was depleted, I was tired, I was angry, I was resentful, and it's been an experience to try to find the balance so I could be a parent, like it's
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
I love that explanation because when I do charts for people, that's a little bit confusing when you say, oh, you're the left angle cross, this is what it's about. It doesn't mean you're not going to be here to help community, right? It doesn't
Yeah,
mean that you're
no,
not helping. It means that you are here to do that self personal growth first
of
and foremost,
course.
or take care of
Yes,
yourself first so that you can. Where mine's
yes.
opposite. So when I become selfish and I'm not, and it's been a massive block because I've always had a little bit of resentment about, well, why can't I just be selfish, right? And so, but in my life flows better when I'm taking care of other people. Like it's
That
just
is,
crazy.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once you see that, you're like, okay, I know that when I am happy, that's what I love doing my work, whether it's podcasting, whatever I'm excited about at that particular time. If I do it first thing in the morning, for a couple hours, I know I'm going to be a much better person. I know
Hmm.
I'm going to be able to hold space for whatever activities. My younger son is a manifesting generator too, so activities, they can come in quick and they can also leave quick. So it feels like there's just a lot going on, and you can't hold space for that if you are not like fully like ready to go, like you are satisfied. I'm like, okay, I am good for the day. It's important for me to
Hmm.
do that because otherwise I can't be available, fully available for my children. Yeah,
Yeah. I
hard.
love that because well, and it teaches us that's without even knowing your human design. I think just what you just said is really important because our body's always telling us what's correct. So if we feel
Yes.
like we're blocked, if we feel angry, resentful, all the feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that it's not natural to us. And but our conditioning constantly is like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't feel that
Yeah.
way, you need to do it this way. And so if anybody's listening that you haven't looked up your chart or had a chart reading done yet, just understand that your body is always telling you. It's that
Yeah.
feeling always becomes, I always tell my clients the feeling comes faster than the logic. So whatever you feel first, ignore what you think because it's the feeling that's correct for you.
Yes. Oh, yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, you don't really, I mean, I find human design was really helpful for me because I needed it. And when it came to me in 2021, so I needed it. But I know, like, my husband would say, well, oh, yeah, I knew that about myself. I'm like, how did you know that? I'm
Right.
like, so some people are more, in tune with their body. But if you are trying to fight your body, like, don't. Your body is your friend. Your body is there
Mm-hmm.
to help you. I mean, it's part of you, so it's there to help us for sure. So,
Yeah, I agree. So tell us about what you do with the homeschooling. So the your homeschooling is the unschooling lifestyle. Is that just a podcast or do you do other with that? Do you I know you incorporate human design with that to help people with their kids. So tell us about that.
yeah, so the unschooling lifestyle really was born, we transitioned in 2020. So my oldest son finished kindergarten on the computer, and then we said we'll try it for a year. And I began homeschooling the very traditional way. I didn't really know anything. I grew up in Mexico, so homeschooling wasn't really a thing that I was familiar with. But many people opened their homes to me and their journeys, and they kept sharing their way of homeschooling. And here is where you'll see Like I kept saying, well, I love art, I love this. And then I remember a mom saying, she's like, well, you are like Charlotte Mason. And I'm like, oh my God, what's that? And Charlotte Mason was a teacher from, from England. And she was like more like Maria Montessori. She observed that kids learn better in nature with art and like hands-on. I was like, yeah, I love that. Absolutely. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And there was like curriculum based. So I was doing all the things and I was not incorporating my child into all the things. And
Mm.
that's when I came at a junction of frustration and anger because he was not doing what I wanted him to do, even though I had spent all this money. And I was just like, why is it that you're not interested? And here it is where I would just keep thinking that he was just the same as me, and then I knew better. And the reality was that it was a completely flawed way of going about it because neither one of us was like completely happy about it. So it took a lot. So that was 2020. 2021, I started learning about play-based, like more homeschool play-based. And I started learning about Dr. Peter Gray, who wrote a book. Oh my God, I can't think of the name of his book, but it's a very famous book. Uh, learning
I
what is it? Let me think about it. So
It'll come to you.
I'm in, yeah, I'm in,
We'll put it in the
yes,
show notes too.
yes, we'll put it in the show notes. But so Dr. Peter Gray was coming to me. Then I started learning about unschooling and self-directed education. And I land in a group with a long-term unschooling advocate. Her name is Dana Martin. And in that group, there was a reflector and a generator. And these people were just like, they had been long-term unschoolers too, and they were into human design. And they kept saying, like my friend Ilka, who's the generator, she kept saying that Liv, my other friend, was a reflector. And I'm like, well, what's that? Like, what is that? So I started looking into it, and I remember finding out that I was a manifesting generator. So I start to find how my not self of frustration and anger was showing up in my homeschool journey, right? Like
Mm.
I couldn't find other, everybody would say like, would just follow their lead and, do self-directed and do projects. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? Like I was just so like caught up in, I didn't know how. And
Sure.
and and I'm like, no one ever, that's not the model that I got from my school years. My school years where you do this and you get an A. If you do, you're good. If you don't, you're bad. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, how is it in the middle? So we kept going through this and I was like, because I knew at one point that I couldn't continue that. I knew that if I did not get my act together, then I needed to, my kid was better, it was safer at school because I really wasn't a much safe space because I would get triggered like with,
Mm.
without warning. And I'm like,
That's
what
why
is,
I didn't do it. I wanted to homeschool and I was like, I'll probably murder my children.
it's true. And, I don't want to say it's true. And here there's a lot of controversy about like homeschooling regulations and stuff, but
Mm.
I wanna point out that the happy pictures that you see in the internet, that is not how it all is all the time. So
Right.
there is my podcast, and the reason why I started blogging about it is because I wanted to tell people the inner work that I had to go through in order to support my children. It's not about
Mm.
making the children do the curriculum because, some of the questions will be like, my child doesn't want to learn. And that is not true. It's
Hmm.
just your child is doesn't it's not taking learning the way you're providing it. But
Yeah.
when we see ourselves as like a part of the problem, it's very triggering because we have been told in different ways, situations back in our childhood that we were the problem. So
Hmm.
it's so much easier to put the responsibility on someone else who doesn't have the tools to defend themselves sometimes because we
Mm.
blame our children no matter what. Like, well, it's your fault that you don't want to do this. And we'll go on the internet and will say like, my children doesn't want to do that, my children this, it's, it's a problem, it's disrespectful, it's so we put the blame on everyone else, but we don't look at ourselves. And that
Mm.
is not easy. I'll tell you first, it's not easy because my children were like calling me out and saying things. And like, my oldest at the very beginning of our journey, he'd said, well, you're not my teacher. And I'm like, excuse me, like, I've been showing you. So it was very triggering in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
And human design came to show me that it wasn't anybody's fault what I was going through, that it had
No.
been my conditioning, it had been experiences in the past. I'm a 4/6, my profile is a 4/6.
Mm.
So the line 4 is a very sensitive profile. It's a very, some people have said, and I've heard it's in different ways, that the 4 needs to be best friends with their parents, with their mom in particular. And that is
Mm.
not what I have. Have you heard that? Have you seen anything like
Mm-mm.
that? No.
No, I have not
They,
heard that.
you
Like
know, but
they're
it,
wanting, they have a need to have that?
yeah, like because so
Okay.
the 4 is the networker, right? So
Mm-hmm.
our opportunities come from the people that know us. So I was, throughout this journey since 2021, I've been taking, different classes, different workshops with people, and I learned about the 4, and it really took me for a loop because I remember wanting to do that with my mom, wanting to be more like, friends with my mom, but most of us will say, you are not your kid's friend. You are a
Mm.
parent. So I remember being like having conversations with my mom and then being criticized. And I know that once I'm like criticized in that way, and it wasn't really about behavior per se, it was like it felt very personal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a struggle. I mean, I have since the my human design journey, I think the biggest relationship that I've worked on and how to heal from that is the one with my mom. Like it's
Mm.
really, really deep. So my work in homeschooling and unschooling is to aids with the parents. Like I'm not the one to show you curriculum, even though I can based on how we learn and our variables and all of that. But my work is to show you and open the conversation for the deschooling process, the deconditioning process, the gentleness that you're
Mm.
about to that is required to heal from that so you can also learn alongside your child. It's not what everyone is looking for at the beginning, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think. I know I wasn't. And but later on it's just what made us uh kind of like go further, into the journey. Like it's what helped us kind of go deeper into it and just kind of like, be at ease. It's not easy. Nothing is
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's just
Right.
there's an ease to it. And human design, like I said, there are many tools you can, people use numerology, astrology, tapping, they use meditation, all the tools, whatever resonates with you. What resonated with me and what changed my life was human design. So I
Oh,
am
I think
a
it's
big,
genius.
yeah, I'm like,
I'm a big fan. I think
yes,
everyone should know their kids' human design because what you just explained, though, like I've always seen it as, oh gosh, if you're going to homeschool and you know your kids' human design, you know how they learn, right? You know
yes,
what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And so you're not pushing against something that doesn't feel correct and actually teaching them to go against their inner guide, right?
yes,
So, but I've never thought of it from how you said as a parent that the parent needs to learn how to decondition actually their old programming
yeah,
that's bumping up against these kids who I believe are coming into this world. Your kids' generation are the kids that are like, the old school stuff is not working anymore, so let me show you
yeah,
how it's going to work. And when I do, I get a lot of kids that are usually about the age they're just going into kindergarten and have been in for a minute. Um, for hair analysis. And what's
okay,
interesting is that I have to explain to the parents because they're coming because the behaviors changed, right? So they've gone into school and so I've had parents that say, well, they're good at daycare, but then when they go to school, they're not good, they don't have good behavior. And so I have to explain to them, number one, it's frequency. So much frequency in the school, their little bodies just can't handle it, so they're going
Correct.
wackadoo. And there's other layers to that
Yep.
with nutrition as well.
Yes.
But the big thing that I keep saying to them is that you've got to learn the way your child learns. Your child does not fit in a box. And so for instance, I have a friend that has a daughter that's 10 that's always in trouble getting pulled out into the hall at school. And I'm like, and she's a manifester. And
Oh,
I'm like, well,
yeah.
she can't be told what to do. So every
No.
time someone comes at her in the incorrect way and says, this is what you're doing, she's going to fight it because it's in her to fight it. And I said
Yeah.
that unless you teach her how to use that and actually talk to the teacher about it as well, it's not that she needs special treatment, but the
No.
teacher needs to learn this. A teacher should all learn this, but then she can go to school and not feel like, and you're not programming her to go against her inner
Yeah.
guide, which is why we're all such a mess because we just stopped trusting ourselves, right?
We did, yes, yes. And there was a period, it's so interesting that you mentioned that. I think maybe like last year or something, there was a planetary alignment or something that there were a lot of kids that were being born and they were actually all manifestors. So
Mm.
it's so interesting. Like to me, it's just like fascinating to see that and to really just bring a little bit of light, like just view into that. If you can just get into that and see your kid's human design, I mean, it'll change your life. But once you start learning yours, it's it really also changes how you see your children because then you're
Mm-hmm.
both two people know go living life alongside each other. You're not longer like someone that needs to dominate the other person. And that really
Mm-hmm.
changes the dynamics a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if I could go back in time and know my kids' design, I would have parented them completely differently. Because I
Yeah,
just parented, they were all the same. And so this one was in trouble because he said no to that. It was just like, I think of how much chaos and stress I probably could have avoided. I don't think it's ever going to be 100% easy, but I feel
yeah,
like there's so much that could have been avoided and I really think that these young kids being born right now are here to say, look, we're not the same.
yeah,
This program is not working anymore. Stop trying to force us into something because we've become we've become so addicted to letting the external tell us what's correct
yeah,
and we're paying for that right now, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um so when you work with families, is that what you do is pull everyone's human design? Like tell me how that works.
Yeah, so they usually come in with like specific, I always ask like what is is there specific something specific that you're looking into? Like right now I'm working with someone who's her son is 12 and he's a 5'1". So I think you're a
Mm.
5'1", right? So the
Mm-hmm.
projections and that's a really tough one. So right now her biggest struggle is that he doesn't feel like he has any boundaries, like he doesn't follow any rules or whatever. But I feel like there's a lot of toxic shame that has to be put onto him with the
Mm.
projections. So he doesn't know that he is worthy of space or, value or time and stuff like that. So we work together to find the rhythm and I just give a lot of resources. I have an open head, so I'm like, I have ideas to last you a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at the designs, we talk about the what could potentially bring. So she has an open head and an open root. I'm like, you will probably feel pressure from everyone else around you. They live with other people. So
Uh,
everything that, your environment is going to add pressure into how you parent. And so I bring awareness to those little pieces, because then they're like, okay, now I can go and feel or journal, like how does that feel? And then I give resources for different places. So usually some people, if they are not able to find a co-op near them, I give like online resources that can help them navigate their homeschool laws for each state because every
mm.
state is different. So they're in the state of Georgia. She has testing coming up in about a year. So there's like some preparations that you need to do to be able to take that. So we kind of go side by side. Because I'm a manifesting generator, I feel like I go from like every angle.
Mm,
Sometimes I tackle like, income or jobs because they're shifting. So when you shift into home education, whatever course you take, your life begins to shift. So your
yeah.
relationships begin to shift, the way you make your money begins to shift. So everything. So I just kind of look at the whole picture. I'm like, what's going on? And then I pull in human design to bring awareness to the gaps, to what could, like for me, for example, sometimes I have an open ego or like a will center. So I know there's a
Mm,
potential for low self-esteem. So I have an emotional authority. So that's what that was one of the big pieces that human design helped me with to understand my emotions. I I'm I have deep feelings, you all. Deep. I mean, they are hard.
yeah,
Yes.
lots of high, like extremes,
Yes,
right? Do you get a
very.
lot of extreme high, extreme low?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So when I see that in a on a child or in a parent, I'm like, let's, set boundaries. I explain how they feel. So I'm a big storyteller. I have a lot of stories too. I'll tell you 5 stories to tell you one thing.
I
And I
love it.
said all of that to tell you this. But it resonates with people. And then, so I just kind of pull the charts and make sure that the rhythms are easier. And yeah, we just kind of go through that. Some of them come back for because integration, and I know you probably feel this too. Integration, knowing your human design is one thing, but the integration of the boundaries of your emotions or the
Mm-hmm.
boundaries on the pressure that you feel from other people, it takes time because
Mm-hmm.
we haven't naturally done that, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I have to be I'm very open about my emotional waves. I call them my emotional so there's like emotional waves, their emotional ecosystem, I call it when I'm really low. I
Mm,
sometimes tell my kids, I'm like, my emotional ecosystem, it is very rainy right now. It is super rainy.
mm,
And I am just going to take a moment for myself. And you may see tears because I cry a lot. And I
mm,
say, but the reason there's no reason of why I'm crying. First of all, it just feels really low. I said, but I want you to know that these tears are not because of you and they're not a result of anything that you did. It's
mm.
just how I feel. So there's nothing wrong with anything going on at home. And I feel like sometimes I over explain, but it's important for me that they know that my moods are not directly related to something that they did.
Yeah, I
Because
love that.
as children, my mom is a projector. And as a child, when my mom was in complete burnout on Sundays, it was like Sundays were such a dense day in our house because my mom
Mm,
was completely burned out from the week and she didn't allow herself to rest. So it felt like I had done something wrong because everyone's just was just in like a mood and it just felt so awkward. And
mm,
yesterday we were talking about that actually, and I'm like, yeah, it was just, but it wasn't really my fault. There was nothing that I
mm.
did that put my mom in that mood. But I obviously, like 6, 7 years old, I didn't understand it. So it's
Right.
important for me for my kids to know that and also to understand that emotions aren't bad. They're just there to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, share some deep wisdom or something.
Yeah.
So
Well, and sometimes you just cry to get I mean, cry, tears or get toxicity out on a
yeah,
physical level, but just to
yes,
get when you're picking, there's so much going on in the world right now, right?
yes,
So on
yes.
all those open centers and what you're picking up. And I don't think what people understand is that as kids, so I have an open solar plexus, which is all
Yes.
emotion.
Yes.
And so I became very good about just filling this room out, filling the situation, paying attention to everything that was going on. I didn't know that until a few years back. I was like,
Yeah.
but I look back at the times when I felt very anxious or something was happening as a child, and I'm like, ooh, it wasn't even my stuff.
Of
And so by
course.
having that explanation, that communication with your kids is so amazing because think about that if we would have just somebody would have said that because you're right. I think it's the energetics of us carrying the blame. It's like whether it's a fear, open spleen, if it's open
Yeah,
emotion, if it's open thoughts, we are just absorbing and amplifying all that energy as little kids, and no one ever told us, gosh, this I'm having a hard day. It's okay. Not the end of the world.
it's
Don't take it
not.
on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And it really, no one told us, but now that I do, my both my kids have an open solar plexus, so that was
Mm,
the biggest reason why human design it really resonated with me because I knew that my emotions carry weight. Like
mm,
I have always known that, but not I never really knew to what extent, but to be able
mm,
to put something on my children when it's not really theirs, it just didn't feel fair to me. And that's why
mm,
I love human design and that's kind of how I share it. I don't, sometimes people come to me about homeschooling and it's human design may not resonate with them because it's
mm,
mystical, but it's a tool nonetheless. So I use other language, but I really love working from the angle of knowing your chart and letting you experiment and coming back and just kind of working with it because it's all an experiment. If it doesn't work for you, of course, you don't have to do anything that you don't want.
right.
But if there's some sort of like a guidance, which I am forever grateful, I'm like, I will take it for sure.
Hmm.
I'll take
Oh,
it.
it would just make us like when you and I first talked, I think we had a Zoom together just to meet each other, and it was
Yeah,
so I just remember thinking that is so genius. If everyone knew their kids' human design, it would be we would live in a different world, really.
yeah,
And
yeah,
because going back to even parents understanding their own and how they're projecting onto their kids and how they're like even me with this, some of it's our nurture, right? How we were raised. This is the way it goes, and it's what I say no matter
yeah,
what, right? So some of
yes.
that's just the way we do that to our kids because it's what we learned. But a lot of it is just us, like how we're designed, and this is
Yep,
how we operate. So when we
yep.
understand, and I think in every relationship, it's so even business relationships, I tell people, if you're having a conflicting business relationship, find out what your human designs are because technically your energies are probably somehow clashing.
Yeah, that is exactly right. When I did the connection chart for my husband and myself, we are uh the one they have really weird names though, like free, better, free together or not together. And all that it means is that there's a lot of space between us. We're both single
Mm,
definition. There's a lot of space between us. It doesn't mean that we're not meant to be together. It just means that we have to be intentional about staying connected. And without me
mm,
working the same, like being a flight attendant, I don't know that we would been able to make it because we needed that space between us. So it's nothing bad. It just kind of shows you where the gaps are.
mm-hmm,
And I recently also entered into like a small collaboration with someone. And I looked at our human design. She's a projector. I'm a manifesting generator. I looked at our connection chart where the potentials are. We have every center defined except the our head is open and our will
mm-hmm,
center. I said, so there will be potential for us to think that the project that we're working on, it's not worth it. And there's a
mm,
potential for us to think of too many ideas. So our job is to like ground into one, work through it and see what happens. So once you start looking into that, to me, like I said, to me and to you, it sounds like it makes all the sense in the world. But
mm-hmm.
again,
Not
it's where you're
everyone.
at. Had you told me about human design when we first started back in 2020, I would have
Mm-hmm,
said like, no, that I don't have time for you. I need to find the best curriculum. I need to find the best, online platforms. I need to find this. I need to find that. It wouldn't have made sense. So it came to us when I needed it, when we needed it, and it changed our
mm-hmm.
lives forever. So I'm just here if or whenever someone is ready for that, for that step.
Yeah,
So,
I feel this like when it came to me. it was such an odd thing. My friend sent me a little short video about the 5-1. So if you're new to human design, your profile, if you pull your chart, your profile is a fraction, like a number that looks like a fraction. And it tells you a lot about yourself and how you operate in the world. And so when I saw that, she goes, I'm a 5-1. I think you are too. And so she sent me the video because we're like totally twins, like everything's the same. And she sent it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a 5-1 also. But it like hit me so hard because
Yes.
with the five, that projects. So a five is I talk about this a lot in a lot of different platforms where I speak, but the five is that mirror, like, oh, this is what you need to heal. And I could never, my whole life, it was like I felt very seen in a very weird way. Like I would walk in a room and I would feel people looking at me and I would be like, why are people looking at me? And what I learned about that is that in that five, that my projection field lets them see me. I don't have to have a conversation, anything, but it shows them what needs to be healed. And they either love it. So my
Or
whole life,
not.
I would have people that are like, I want to be BFFs. And for me as a people pleaser, it was too much because I'd be like, yeah, let me be everybody's friend, right? Or I would have people that literally could not even look me in the eye. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, well, why do some people love it, this energy? And some people are like, oh my gosh, ick, right? And
Yeah.
it's that because they don't want to see it. But for me,
Exactly.
it's been a handicap because of the savior part of that, of where people see me as she's going to help, she's the one to help me. And it's been very difficult as I've moved through learning in my business who I'm actually supposed to help because I was really struggling with overgiving.
Huh. And how do you set those boundaries now for yourself? Like right
Well,
now,
my incarnation is prevention, and so one of the main things that I really learned just recently is that when I work with clients, you froze. I can hear you still, but can you hear me is the
yeah, I
question.
can hear
Anyway,
you. I
okay,
see you
perfect.
too. Okay.
Okay, good. There you are. Um, with the prevention, I'm not here to do it for them, and because of my open emotional solar plexus, I'm not here to be open to anyone's stuff. I'm here to
Yeah.
say, here's the tools. This is what you do. I'm here to guide you and help you prevent this, but I'm not here to do it for you, to take it on. And so I've had to become very selective on who I take as clients, people who really want
Who
change, who are
really want to
willing
do
to
the work. Yep.
engage.
Hmm.
Yep, they're engaged in willing to do long term, not just a one appointment here and there, because I was getting frustrated. And so, what was just such a huge key was understanding, oh, well, you're not here to help every sick person, right? You're here to help the ones that are trying to prevent things from getting worse or prevent things from coming
Ah,
on. And I was attracting people who had been to every single doctor, wanted answers that were probably way above my pay grade, and I was able to find a lot of answers for them, but it was so draining to me. It wasn't fun anymore. And I think our work
that
has to be
is,
fun.
yes. I mean, that is fascinating. Yeah, I constantly evaluate that though, because my incarnation cross is the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And
Remind me what
my
that is.
that is just, we're going actually, we moved into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. It is
Yeah.
basically saying everything has to burn so you can be reborn. And it's really about
Oh.
awaking, being awakened to different ways of doing things. But I also have the channel of provocation, and that's
Mm.
been really hard to step into because I not naturally a person. I was never a person that would speak to provoke people, and I don't do it on purpose. I finally um I'm stepping a little more into it. I just speak from, from the heart, really. I don't speak from the mind anymore. But it's
Mm-hmm.
been really hard because not everyone is ready for that. So the provocation piece is just really not something intentional. It just may bring something out on you that may really shift you into a different direction. So that's really that's really what it is. It's not yeah, I have a hard time with it
Well,
though because
it's not, well, the way that I see it is it's not something where you're like, I'm gonna go speak somewhere and I'm going to be super direct and provoke you to
Yeah,
listen to what I
no.
say so that you'll make a change. Yours is actually all of it's energetic, right? All of our charts is
Yes.
all about energy. For you, the way I see that now, knowing that, is that you have a way of you have a way of commanding. It's not like a commanding like bossy, but it's like a this is what you're just. I don't know how you have a commanding presence that gets people to listen. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So when
yeah,
you
it does.
speak, you attract people where you're energetically that might provoke them. So like this conversation might say to somebody, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about doing homeschooling.
Yeah,
The way she just presented it provoked that energy in me, where you
yes.
don't have to be so, because provoking seems so kind of
It
yucky,
seems,
right?
yeah, and it seems like on your face, and I've never been a person, like that on your face,
Yeah,
like, no, oh my gosh, no, please, no, never. That
yeah.
was not me. So I just really speak from the heart now, but I really, I think from the homeschool community, one of the things that sets me apart is that I really speak from the amount of inner work that we parents have to do in order to do it. And a lot of people, I see it as like people want to bypass it. I'm like, you cannot bypass the nervous
Hmm.
system. You can pretend to bypass the nervous system, but let me tell you, girlfriend, that dysregulation will come back at you and it will show you and it will show itself in the most inconvenient moments. And yeah, there's no denying it. So yeah,
Yeah. Do
yeah.
you want to talk about that, your experience that you had last week? Was it last week?
Yeah,
About
it's
the
just,
nervous,
yeah,
since
we
we're
just,
talking about nervous system, because I feel like
yeah.
everyone's nervous system is like high, like hot wired, right? Just crazy right now.
Yeah, it is definitely crazy right now. So here, my husband and I, our family had a trip planned for Greece back in September, and we couldn't make it, so we rescheduled for the end of February because it was my husband's birthday and we wanted to go. But he couldn't go, so I took it upon myself to take my two children to the other side of the world and to an island. It is the island. So we flew into Amsterdam, spent the night in Amsterdam, then we flew to Athens, spent 2 nights, 3 days in Athens. And then we took a ferry boat to the island of Syros, which is like a 3.5 hour ferry boat from Athens, right?
Which
Now,
only a flight attendant mom would do.
yes, I mean, let me tell you, I this trip is going down in the memories as the transportation trip, because we spend most of our of what we spent on the trip and the time was spent in transportation. We took ferries, planes, boats, automobiles, all kinds of transportation we took. But what I
Wow.
was telling Corey when we first got on is that when I made it to the island of Syros, it was really quiet. It was so quiet that I could hear like my heart, my blood. I could hear my dysregulation because once I was on the island, I started thinking, so how I'm going to get back. So there are two pieces there. This is the second time that I've been to an island. I went to the island of Holbox in Mexico and back
Mm,
a couple of years ago, and we got into there was a tropical storm. And I remember it was the first time that I felt really fear because I felt that I felt stuck, right? You're in the middle of an island, you need a
yeah, you're
boat
out
to
of
get you,
control.
you out
Yeah.
of control. So I know there's something there for me, but we're on this island and it is quiet. I mean, it is, you hear different sounds. There are cars in the island, but they're not nearly as many as in the city. It's dark, it's windy, it's cold. It's winter in Greece right now, so there was a couple of days it was raining, but it was really windy, and the shutters outside our Airbnb were like, like flapping. It was like gone with the wind
Hmm.
type situation, right? So here I am in this house, and then I'm trying to think back. I'm trying to be like, logistics. I'm trying to think how I underestimated how long it took us to get there. So I needed to anticipate how to get back. In order to get
Hmm.
back, I needed to get back to Athens. Then from Athens, I needed to get back to Amsterdam. Then from Amsterdam back to the States.
Oh, well,
So
my nervous system's just really ramped up right now. Just
yeah,
hearing
yeah. So
that.
I'm going through this process, and my credit cards are getting declined because they think someone's committing fraud because I'm on the other side of the world, and I'm trying to book ferry tickets and boats and trying to see the island. I'm trying to do all the things, but as I'm laying there, like it was the second morning, and I was just there, and I'm like on the bed, the kids are asleep, and I'm thinking. And then I'm hearing, I literally could hear my body, the dysregulation in my system where it did not feel safe. I did
Mm,
not feel safe. And
hmm
I'm like, well, why is this happening? So all of the things that make us feel safe, like, a roof over your head, the finances and transportation to go to places, or what I think was making me feel safe, I did not have it because my credit cards, like I said, my funds are being like stopped. I had to call the bank like three times from Greece, and I'm calling my husband, I'm calling my parents. I'm like, someone needs to help me. I didn't speak the language, which is rare
mm.
for me actually because I speak Spanish and Portuguese. And
Oh,
I don't feel threatened by not being able to speak the language. But
yeah.
there were no signs in English. Everything was in Greek. And
Oh,
I'm like, I cannot communicate. People were
wow.
super nice. I learned, it's your survival starts kicking in, right? But I know that I do not feel safe. I know that the reason why I was able to hear that or feel that was also because the environment was super quiet. I know
Mm,
when I got back into the States and into my home, I started, there was sounds outside, the cars, things were kind of drowning that dysregulation. So it made me feel like I was kind of like back on track, but I'm like, no, I'm not on track. I just don't hear it. I'm not
hmm
listening to it. And that's what I was going through in Zeros because it was so quiet. It was like, we were walking. At some point we went to this, there was Netflix had a series about cats. And
hmm
there is a sanctuary in the island of Zeros about taking care of cats, and it's an island that has a lot of stray cats. So
mm.
this sanctuary takes care of it. So for some reason, again, people like I'm just like just I don't know what comes to me, but so we went to the we took a cab all the way to the beach, to the on the other side of the island where we were staying, and there's not one soul, not one soul because it's
Wow.
winter. We sat there. I was looking at the ocean, and I'm like, okay, I can feel it. Like, like I was getting energized by being on the ocean, but at the same time, I'm very much aware that there's not one soul in sight. And
Mm,
I'm here trying to, it was just me and the children. Like,
yeah.
my husband, I think my
That's
husband,
scary.
yeah, it was very scary. So, but we made it to the sanctuary, and then they helped us get a cab, and everyone was really nice. So we were never in danger. We were
Right.
never in danger, but that it was not what my body was feeling. And
But do you
that
think was that residual nervous system from, like you said, not feeling it at home when you're in the busyness of life? Like it was just there?
I think so though, because I think there was a little bit of both. So
Mm,
it's a little bit of that, knowing that I'm not always fully regulated, right? Because of maybe drinking too much coffee or watching too much TV, where the news for me it's really hard for me
hmm
to process that. So I don't when I do too much consumption, I can feel my nervous system just starting to like it's very tangible.
Same.
So it was there was a little bit of that. It was a different type of quiet. It was like my soul was like speaking to me. It was
Mm,
so interesting. It was so unique. It was an experience that I wouldn't been able to have if my husband had been there. And we both had a very nice conversation about it. about what it meant for both of us to be separated, to
Mm,
be away from each other in that time, and what he went through here, because he was worried here too, right? That we
mm-hmm.
were over there, but communication was great, and I think it's been really important. He's a huge, we are very supportive of each other, but
Mm,
it was so quiet. It was just so quiet. I don't know. It just felt like I needed to listen to how dysregulated I was in order to be able to think how to get back into it, I guess.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was so interesting, and it was really, and then as we started to make our way back into the States, so we took the ferry, we got into Athens, it's like 9 p.m. So then we went to the hotel, and it was nighttime in Athens, but you could start, there are more lights, there are more sounds, there are cars. So that stillness and that quietness that I experienced in Syros was no longer there when we got back to Athens. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, it was so easy for me to distract myself of how dysregulated I had been 2 days prior. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to get distracted because there were other pieces to keep me from focusing again into how can I get back into regulation? How can I,
Mm-hmm.
or where are the pieces that need regulation, like where is it? Is it in my arms? Is it in my legs? Because they say each part of your body is related to something else,
Mm-hmm.
right? To something more emotional. So I know for me, and I think this is the mother one, I think the left arm.
Mm-hmm.
um so I know I feel it there a lot. But as we got back to Athens, like I said, 9 p.m. The next morning, we got up early to take our flight from Athens to Amsterdam. We got to Amsterdam. It was like, I don't know, like maybe like noon or 11:30 in the morning. And then we waited a few hours before our flight back to the States. Each part of that journey got louder and louder. And I could
Mm-hmm.
feel which one was like, that one was louder. My dysregulation was still here, but it wasn't as
Mm-hmm.
loud because it was being drowned by this one. So if I sat and started to think about it, like this would come up, and I would have like thoughts or feelings that I would journal, because that's what I do. I journal my way through
I love it. Me too.
this emotional waves and stuff like that. But it was just fascinating. I mean, it was a fascinating experience. It was a fascinating experiment. Again, it was a portal to allow me to see where my work is,
Mm-hmm.
where my next step of my journey is, which is more, I've been doing a lot of like, that's what like I really like, I'm still there and into like the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system, the body.
It's
Um,
big right now.
it's
Yeah.
very,
It's
I mean,
it's
yeah.
everyone needs the work. So other than journaling, have you found some tools that you've started to use? I mean, it hasn't been that long, but since like is there anything specific you're using?
So I do a lot of journaling. That has always been a thing. I do a lot of creative work, but that is part of my design though, a little bit. So creative stuff like I do. I work with the book pages. I work with stickers. I work with like scrapbooking. I make cards for people. Like
Mm-hmm.
to me, like the bottom. So my main floor has a big table, and then I have a credenza, and the credenza now has all scrapbooking supplies and
Mm.
our junk. I do like junk journaling, they call it. So you
I
collect
love that.
wrappers. So
Yes.
I collected all the wrappers and pieces from Greece, and my kids are like, "Why are you taking that? Why are you I said,
Yeah.
"Because I'm gonna put it on this journal," and and they're like, "Okay." So I collected all the pieces, and the credenza now has that project that is more that it needs to be finished. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have another part of the table that has like I'm creating right now, they're called poetry pages. And what it is that poetry is a great outlet, but it doesn't come naturally to people to come out with the words.
Mm,
So poetry pages they're just random pages from books. There have been, books that are no longer usable or whatever. And all you do is as you look through the page, certain words will come up and certain words will like mean something. So you'll highlight them or put a circle on it, and then you go through the whole page. And at the end of the whole page, once you do that, there are 5 or 6 words, or maybe more, maybe even like a couple of sentences, and then you write them on a different page, and that's a
mm.
poem. And that's
Oh,
a poem
I love
that
it.
kind of speaks to you in whatever you're going through. But I'm huge in that. So I'm creating like
That's
poetry
fun.
pages and, all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Do you
So
sleep? I'm
I
like
do.
sitting here thinking,
When
she
does she
flies.
fly?
Yeah. Do you
So
sleep?
I don't fly as much, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I look for is that as a manifesting generator, my MO is to go to bed delightfully spent. And the
Mm-hmm.
way my husband and I close the day is we have this show that we're watching, and we usually watch even 10 minutes, even 5 or 10 minutes before we go to bed. But that's how I go to bed delightfully spent. I make
Mm-hmm.
sure that my days are um intentional,
Yeah.
intentional to be satisfaction to myself. And because I know that once I'm satisfied, then I bring that into the rest of my home. And like
Mm-hmm.
conversations like this one are huge because I get energized from this. So the more,
Me
as a
too.
manifesting generator, the more we do the things that we love, the more energy we have. So once
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with this chat, then we're gonna go in to do a dye eggs for with some coloring and some stuff like that. But I get energized from doing stuff like this because I just love it. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just go through the day. We go boxing is tonight, it's Monday, so we have boxing for my oldest son, and then spend a couple hours there, come home, and then everyone just kind of like takes a moment to themselves, and then my husband and I watch our show, and then I go to bed. Delightfully spent. I
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that.
I love that too because that's one of the things that I really like to always point out about manifesting generators and generators is that if you are living in this box of this is how I was told to do my life,
Yeah,
and you're doing that and you're extremely fatigued, you're depressed, you're
yeah,
sick, that is because you're not using your energy correctly. And
correct.
so for me, if I don't have enough to do, that's the thing that I really noticed is that I lived this whole life of go, 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 be busy, busy, busy. The nervous system was a huge mess because I was never slowing down to
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was using my energy incorrectly because I was doing everything everybody else wanted me to do. And so
Exactly.
then I would be burnt out, I would be angry,
Yes.
resentment, frustrated with everyone. And so that what you just said is so important because now I'm like today for me, I'm going to do 2 podcasts. Then it's beautiful weather here today, so I will get myself outside because that's my happy place. And
Yes.
so it's touching dirt, like planting, like I can't wait to like get into, I have a landscaping business too, so I can't wait to start that.
Oh my God,
And
I'm so
it's just,
excited.
so I'm like, yay, it's going to be, we're right here at the cusp of that time where I get to do all, because winter's very difficult for me because I stopped being creative. And this year I've started, okay, I got to be creative inside the house now more than I was before. And it really does make a difference and it
I
attracts
mean,
what you want,
yeah,
right?
it really does though. So that's just, I just do that. But as long as I keep myself like satisfied, then at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
days go by really fast. But I can tell some days I don't do a lot, you know.
And that's okay.
Some days are really low, and I struggle with that because I want to do. But,
Mm-hmm.
I have very supportive, like I said, my partner is very supportive. I am open with my kids, about what's happening and what I can and cannot do. Communication is key because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, no one can be a mind reader. My mom would differ, and because she wants
Uh-huh.
everyone to read her mind, but I'm like, no one can read my mind, so I have to be open about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I love that. I really love just, being creative and hanging out with people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good advice. All of everything you've said has been really good advice. And even just going back to that place where you were able to get in that silence, right? Because most of us avoid that. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel,
It
we're
is.
not used to it.
No,
So that fear response is really more than anything our logical brain saying, this doesn't feel safe because I have not experienced this for ever. I mean,
exactly.
most of us were bred to just
Do,
keep
to
it
do.
going,
Yep.
do and do and
Mm-hmm.
do, and never, especially moms. So, and then you talked a little bit about your open identity. So many moms struggle with identity as it is. And so I
Yes.
think you're a great example of not losing identity, even though you've got that open identity. So you're influenced by that, right?
Yeah, I'm very fluid with that. I feel like I'm still working with it because
Mm,
I was living an identity of other people, and it feels
mm-hmm.
like sometimes. So I'm being in that quietness and grace has helped me see like, well, what does Julieta like? What does Julieta wants? But I love experiencing other people's passions. Like those are the ones that are huge influencers for me. I was
Mm,
once in New York and I was at a restaurant. It was a morning restaurant, like a diner type thing, but it was right
mm-hmm.
by the courthouse. So there was it was so interesting to me how I started ramping up with a feeling of social justice. And everything
Mm-hmm.
at the restaurant was about the pieces were about social justice. The people were really um interested in like local farm ingredients, and I let myself go wild with that one, and I felt it so big that if I had there had been a march of people, they're like, let's go and save the world. I'm like, yeah, let's go and do it. It just takes you like it would have just taken me to a whole different place. But I know the experience is that once I left that place, I slowly felt the energy leaving me too. I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I could do that right now. So it was really interesting. So I'm very fluid in that, but I try not to because then my decisions can be affected by that, and that is not a good thing.
Yeah, you might get into some trouble.
Yes, yeah, that creates a lot of shame in the past. It created a lot of shame in the past
Mm.
because the I wouldn't have the energy to continue on doing something, and then I would feel guilty for not following up or following through and finishing. Yeah, there was a lot of vicious cycle on that, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Yes,
Yeah, that
but
makes sense because there's a lot of the projection of it's not self-worth. What's the other thing that's similar to that that comes with identity? Just, I lost my train of thought. Oh well.
it's okay though. It's all right. But
Anyway.
yeah, it's just there was just a lot of shame that came with it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was so it's just been it's a work in progress for me. And like I said, human design changed our lives. I wouldn't change it for the world. And just yeah, I'm
Well,
here
I love
for it.
it. I love what you're doing with homeschool. So let me ask you a couple closing questions. First of
Sure.
all, since we've talked so much about human design, what do you think's the number one part of your chart that helped you the most? Like whether it's your type, your strategy and authority. Like when you first learned your human design, what do you think was what was the thing that stood out to you and went, "Oh my gosh, that's me," or that really validated you?
My type for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember crying. I remember crying about it because people would say, and people would say like, "Oh, you have too many coals in the fire." I'm like, but you don't understand when those coals are the right ones. I can go for hours. I don't need a lot of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
When I have my energy in the right coals, like I can go for hours. Like it is what energizes me the
Mm-hmm.
most. So that was a lot of there was a lot of validation there, a lot of yes. And yeah,
I
so
love that.
my type, huge,
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Oh, that was probably same because mine was more shame around quitting.
Yes.
Like
Oh,
not like getting bored
yes.
with stuff, so much
Oh,
shame around, oh, well, I don't want to do that anymore. And people would be like, you're so like I literally thought I was just a quitter. I did a lot of work
yes.
around what happened to me that made me a quitter. And then I learned, oh, you're supposed to do that,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
type is huge. I love that. And then
Yep.
my last question is, what's your number one advice for people who are thinking? I think there's a lot of, we're going to see a huge influx of people turning to homeschool,
Yeah.
like tomorrow. Like it's going to
Yes.
happen really fast. What's your number one piece of advice for people who are considering like where to begin?
Oh my
Should they just call
gosh.
you? Should they just
Yeah, just call
book an
me.
appointment?
So the number one, yeah, so here it is, the number one thing that it saved me a lot. You can do anything. You as a parent, you as a person, you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. And when you
Mm,
start homeschooling, there is this pressure necessary because it's just a societal pressure that you need to do everything bigger and better than the school. So there's this competition that we feel that because we're homeschooling, our kids need to be the next Einstein or the next,
mm,
Simone Biles or the next the ice skaters that just won the Olympics. So there's a couple of posts about that they were homeschool. And I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of, I don't want to say shame, but just rather if you homeschool, it's because your kid has this like special, unique talent, and then you're developing, or they're going to be like a soccer player or a gymnast. Like
mm-hmm,
it's though all those things do not they are not there to serve you. So they're just there to put you back on this like cycle and wheel of doing things how other people want you to do. So
mm-hmm,
as you step into this completely new dark forest. So imagine you're in a city and things are wild and you're just going for it. And then you decide to homeschool, home education, alternative education, however you want to call it, and you are slowly leaving that city and you are at the edge of a forest or just a field that has a lot of trees. So it's hard to see what's on the other side. It
mm,
feels quiet. It's different because not everyone you don't have the city feel right behind you. That's behind you. But as you step into it, take time to enjoy what happens. You may not know what's on the other side, but I can guarantee you that it's probably better than what you're leaving behind.
mm-hmm,
So, as you do that, you can do anything, but you cannot do everything. So,
mm-hmm,
burnout can happen very, very quick in homeschooling because we try to do all the activities, all the co ops, all the groups, because you don't want your child to be behind. Your child is not behind because there is
mm-mm,
no one else to compete with. You are not behind because there's only one of you, there's only one of them, there's only one of me, and there's only one Corey. There is no one else that we're competing with. It's just
mm-hmm,
all an illusion. So your child is
mm-hmm.
exactly where they need to be. You are exactly where you need to be. And the learning, the you're at the edge of this beautiful, beautiful journey ahead of you. So be kind to yourself. Don't do everything. It's okay.
Oh, that's great advice. All I could think of is you're just opening up possibility for your kids that the rules and the conditioning stifle, right?
Yeah.
So those kids that turned into great ice skaters or whatever they became, it happened because the parents had the courage to take them out of the box. It wasn't because
Yes.
that's my opinion. It wasn't that they went, "Oh, our kid is special and they have to be outside of the box." Yeah, for
Yeah.
like to be an Olympic anything, you probably have to miss a lot of school. So maybe there's some reason behind that,
Yes,
right?
there
But
are.
there's reasons they did it. But like in my mind, it's like the faster you can teach your kids that they're free to do whatever they
Yes.
want, what
Yes.
feels correct, they will blossom and become that person they're here to become because of that, because you allowed that.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. And it begins with smaller steps like being able to go to the bathroom whenever you feel like it, being able
Right.
to ask for food whenever you're hungry, which that creates all this, like dieting issues, all the stuff that we have, body issues because because we hold it for too long and we don't want to go or we can't go. So yeah, it's a beautiful journey. It's not
Mm,
always easy, I'll say that.
sure.
You can come look at my journals that have tears on the pages because I would cry And I would say, I just don't know if homeschooling is for us. I really
Mm,
thought it was hard, you all. So it was hard. So it's not always easy, but oh boy, it's so worth it. So if you're on the
mm,
edge, if you can, because there's a lot of some people can because they have to work.
sure.
There are some third spaces, I call them, that are being built by beautiful people. There are so many amazing advocates doing amazing work and having what they're called self-directed centers, agile learning centers, places where uh, it functions in the same way as like a school, same schedule, uh, same, a place maybe, but it's different. They center on the child. It's a little beyond a Montessori setup, what you would have. So look into those. There's many
So those are
people.
their options.
Yeah, there
I
are
love
many
that
people
because some
doing
people
amazing
think
work.
it's, yeah, some
No,
people think it's black and white. And I think
nope.
that's too where I was, where it was just like, I know nothing. I have family members who were homeschooled, and at the time, everybody was like, and this was many, many years ago, but everybody was like, oh my gosh, they're weird and all that. It's
Yeah,
come so far, but those kids are actually some of the most well-adjusted kids in our family. And
yeah,
I think it's because they had so much individuality. They weren't put into
yes.
this box and they didn't have this structured schedule that just, if you're a projector, you cannot have that structured
No.
schedule. And I mean, that's why these little kids are having breakdowns and struggling because their energy is just like, I can't do it.
No, yeah,
So,
exactly. There's so much to it. So just there's some, I mean, in aviation, we talk about, like 9/11 was big because it was like, it's aviation pre 9/11 and aviation
mm-hmm,
post 9/11. Homeschooling, it's like there's a pre-COVID version of homeschool and there's a post-COVID version of
mm,
homeschool. I mean, it's like night and day. So don't be afraid to step out of the box. You'll
I
like
love
it.
it.
You'll cry a few, you'll shed a few tears,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it'll be okay though. So yeah,
I love
that's
it.
it.
So, where can we find you? I'll put everything in the show notes, but for anybody that's listening that's like, I got to know right this second, what's the
Yeah.
best place to find you?
So go to my personal Facebook. So I've been going through, like you said, like the socials declutter type thing. So we closed our Instagram.
Oh,
And yeah, I
that's a big
know.
step.
Yeah, that was a big step. So my personal Facebook is still there. You can go to our website and at the unschoolingLifestyle.com and you can send us an email through there. Our podcast, each episode has a way for you to send a message or something, and the emails are always there. So, but if you go through Facebook and just send me like a messenger, a message thingy or whatever,
Okay.
I'm always around there. So yeah, you can find me there.
Okay. I love it.
Um,
And so I have on here that you're going to do maybe a mini session. Is that what you offer up right up front? Like, how do you people start to work with you if they're thinking they want?
yeah, if you want to work, if we can start, so I usually have, run your chart and then I'll send like a guide with some of the details about your charts. And then we'll take it from there though. So some people do want like a deeper session. Some people are okay with just a guide.
Mm-hmm.
However you want to do it. But yes, I do one-on-ones and for families, for couples, for the children, but again, you'll know that I focus more on the parents and the inner
Mm-hmm.
work. I'll give you very key pieces about homeschooling, like a specific type of child, like a manifestor, a manifesting generator, what that looks like, but I'm not going into, I open portals mostly for the parents so you can hold space
Mm-hmm.
for your child. That's usually what I like to do. What people come to me for. Yeah.
I love that because I think it can give peace to the parents during the struggle, right?
Yes.
They need
Yes. Oh yeah.
to do their own work. So that's
Yes.
lovely.
Yes, for
I
sure.
love it. Well, thank you so much, Julieta. This has been so awesome. Like I said, we could talk forever and ever. So
Yes.
if anything we talked about resonates, please go check out her website, listen to her podcast. She has great guests on her podcast, and we will hopefully down the road have a chat again soon because, like I said, everything's evolving. So we'll see what's happening six
Yes.
months from now. So maybe we'll have another chat and see what changes and how
Absolutely.
things are going. Okay, well, I
Yeah,
appreciate you
absolutely.
so much. So,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me. Bye,
you're
everyone.
welcome. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.